My name is Doepel from Doepel Strijkers Architects. I have an office here in the Merwe Havens together with Eline Strijkers. Eline is an interior architect and I'm an architect and we do a whole range of projects from interior scale to architectural scale to the urban scale. In the last years we've been asked more and more to think about strategies for making our city, Rotterdam, or cities in general, more sustainable. In 2010, last year, we did a project in the area called the Renewable City. And the Renewable City was commissioned by From to design a city for 2040 in the future. What will the future district or neighborhood or city look like? And what we did was we made a city which is based on closing cycles, but also based on the notion of producing more energy and water than it consumes and food. And recycles waste as optimally as possible. And that results in a different kind of urban configuration. And when you try to do this on an architectural scale, you quickly realize that if you really want to make a difference in terms of sustainability, that you also have to look a scale bigger. So that's why we as an office focus on the interior and architectural scale, but we also develop strategies on the bigger scale. So this is the Haka building. It was designed in 1932 by the architect Mertens. It was bought by Vestia a couple of years ago, and they asked us to develop a concept for the ground floor for the first phase. It's an interior concept, and what we did was we connected the notion of demolition of buildings in other parts of the city to the building of this interior. So we went to 7 or 8 different demolition sites and we selected material like glass and doors and wood, etc. And we ensured that it got demolished in a sustainable way. The most important aspect is that we built it using people from the reintegration process. Should we go inside? The lighting, that's quite an important feature. We created a central point where there's a high density of lights. It's these vertical T-holes. And the orange is the point of entrance, and that was important because the building is still under construction. We wanted from the street to have a kind of an eye catcher so that people know that there's something happening in this building because it was empty for 20 years. What you see here is the entrance, the reception counter, and it's made out of 2 elements. One is a second-hand greenhouse, which we literally rebuilt. And the pantry is also made out of glass, a second-hand greenhouse. And these platforms are made from second-hand elements from an old stone factory. What we tried to do was not design finished products, but design products that can evolve in time based on the principles that we predefined. This is the meeting space made from doors from social housing project. And I always make the joke that this is the most democratic space in the Netherlands because everybody can leave and enter from their own, by their own door. So these are the acoustic elements that we made using the 8 tons of clothing. As you see, what we did is we organized it in color, and you can connect them, and by connecting the right colors to each other, you create a kind of a rainbow effect. So there are different positions. One is that we have one long wall, which then divides this space as a temporary exhibition space from the auditorium. And in this configuration, as you see, it's more creating kind of rooms. So one of the intriguing aspects about working with the people from the reintegration was that not many of them have skills, not many of them know how to work with wood, for example. So what you see, for example, in these benches is that we made very, very simple elements which could be repeated endlessly. And the individual elements are not that interesting if you look at them one by one, but when you look at the whole and the total image, it generates a certain aesthetic which we think has an added value, added quality. This is the green biomass plant. It's in the area just opposite this building, so it's very close by. It's in our back garden actually. And what the client Eneco asked us to do was to design a biomass plant that could fit into a future neighborhood. And that's quite a big challenge because most biomass plants are conceived of as black boxes. They actually don't have a function. And so what we did was we tried to break down the scale and introduce the human scale. So we broke the building up into 3 elements. And that's quite important because that means that people in the neighborhood will be able to identify with the building and be able to say, well, that building is generating the energy for my neighborhood. So there's a relationship that you get between the production of the energy and the consumption in the neighborhood. And that's something that we really as an office are striving to do, is to link climate and bioclimatic design to the form of our buildings. We don't design buildings and then add on sustainable elements. We try to integrate the two in an iterative process, and the one is the result of the other. So this is a project we're doing for the NIE. It's called the Climate Square. In Dutch it's the Klimaatplein. And basically what we're doing is we're turning the pond, the pond which is now a kind of algae pond, into a clean swimming pool. So it's going to become a place for people in the city to meet by introducing a broad terrace. There's outdoor activity, and we try to generate a public space which has something for everyone. So we've extended the museum park over the road and created a number of different kinds of baths. We're still in the design phase, but what you see here are baths of different levels, and that's in order to get the whole pond and the circulation of the pond working. And on this part of the site, we're going to realize a reed filter, which filters the grey water of the building and ensures that this is permanently clean. This is the reed filter. We capture the rainwater, we filter it, and then it goes into these 2 baths. This is a deeper bath where you can literally swim. It's a 2-meter deep bath, and this is a shallower bath for kids. So in the summer, the climate plane will reflect the changes in climate, so you will see differences in level, so that there will be moments when you can walk with dry feet from this terrace to this terrace. And what we want to do is we want to create an outdoor area that facilitates the use of the city in different ways for different groups of people. So it's a very bold gesture of the NIE to give the city and the people of the city something as special as a public swimming pool. This is an interesting project in the sense that it deals with inner city densification. There are a lot of buildings in the city that we could reuse in an innovative way, but they're difficult to do because of the regulations and etc. And what we did here was we took an old existing ambulance garage and transformed it into an urban villa for a young couple with kids, which is also kind of gives answer to this whole problem that we have with young people with kids leaving the city. So the city is full of these kinds of buildings, and if you can come up with innovative ways to reuse them and to reprogram them, you could maybe capture the people that you want in your city, which has a great value for the neighborhood as a whole. If you ask me how cities look in the future, then in a lot of ways I think they don't look that different to cities today, but I think they're a lot smarter. I think if you look at the way in which cities in the future will use energy, water, waste and materials and produce food, it will be done in a much more intelligent and compact way than what we do today. And this is one of the biggest challenges, how to deal with these issues, especially in the existing city, because in Northwest Europe our cities are only growing by 1% per year, which means it's easy to design a new building which is energy neutral or energy plus, but that's not the challenge. The challenge is retrofitting and revitalizing the existing city. If we talk about future cities and sustainable cities, in terms of technology, we know how to do it. The technology is there and it's ever evolving and developing. The biggest challenge is how to finance it and how to organize it in time and to get the transition of an area up and running. And that means that's where the real innovation has to happen. Economic engineering is perhaps more interesting at the moment than technical engineering.